Hello, I'm Cheryl Hawkins. Welcome to Solutions, the series that highlights the incredible work that nonprofits do every day to solve problems in our communities. There are many things that nonprofit organizations need to fulfill their missions, including talented board members, qualified and skilled staff, volunteers, effective marketing tools, but most importantly, to make a real impact on the work they do to serve the community, nonprofits need funds, money, to get the job done. On this edition of Solutions, we're taking a look at Impact100 DC, a unique women's philanthropic organization that helps other nonprofits in the DMV get the funds they need to support their missions. So how do they do it? Let's take a look.
Looking to make an impact to address the unmet needs of our community? Wanting to connect with a diverse community of dynamic women? Impact100 DC might be the organization you've been looking for.
Impact100 DC is an all-volunteer women's philanthropic organization.
Your membership comes together to really be the change that you want to see in the world.
100 women come together. Each woman donates $1,000. That money is pooled to create a $100,000 grant, which is then donated to a local nonprofit.
It's really fun to work with a lot of powerful, inspiring women. I'm inspired by all of you.
The most generous, warm people you'll ever meet.
Right now, we are 136 members strong and looking to grow to 200 women. Our goal is to donate 2 $100,000 grants to 2 incredible nonprofits in 2023.
I learned how committed Impact DC is to the beautifully diverse communities of our home.
That you have the opportunity to focus locally.
In the past 2 years since our inception, Impact100 DC has donated $100,000 transformational grants to Access Youth and Citygate, and 4 $9,500 grants.
There are so many possibilities.
It's a great organization.
It's amazing to have these opportunities.
I love being with Impact100.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Learn more about Impact100 DC.
And now, joining me in studio to share more about Impact100 DC is Ann Vaughn, Impact100 DC's founding president. And welcome to Solutions.
Thank you, Cheryl. I'm delighted to be here.
I am so delighted to have you here. So let's start at the beginning. Share with our viewers what the mission of Impact100 DC is and how it all got started.
We are an all-volunteer women's philanthropic collective giving organization that awards high-impact grants of $100,000 to local nonprofits working to affect change in the DC metropolitan area. And how we got started is a little bit of a story. I learned about the Impact100 model from a friend of mine in Florida who was involved in a group down there. And I had just retired from teaching music to girls for 25 years or so. And I knew that I needed to do something else. I missed the community, I missed the kids, but I missed the community of colleagues, you know, with whom I shared a mission and we learned together, you know, the whole lifelong learning thing. Mm-hmm. And I knew that I wanted to be involved in my community in some way and to do something useful. So this seemed perfect. And it turned out that there was no Impact100 DC, and so I decided, well, I'll try to start one. And with a small group, that's what we did in the spring of 2020. And as we started up, we really had the kind of the best of all worlds. There are probably over 60 Impact100 organizations around the country. There's an umbrella organization called the Impact100 Council, led by Wendy Steele, who founded the model. And you know, we had a lot of best practices to look to as we started up. At the same time, we are our own fully independent 501c3 organization, and we developed very carefully our own mission and vision and bylaws and all of that, all the structure of the organizations that was specifically geared to the nature of our local community.
You know, I get chills every time I hear you say, or anyone say, we give grants of $100,000. That's a lot of money, and it's enough money to really make an impact on a nonprofit and the work they do. So that part I'm so excited about, and I have to let the viewers know that I am a member of Impact100 DC, and I am so proud to be a member of this organization.
It's a great organization. One of the things I keep saying over and over again is how grateful I am to have met women like you, whom I never would have crossed paths with otherwise. It's a wonderful thing. You know, and also going back to the video at the beginning, just to fast forward a little bit. So we are now entering our 5th year. With last year, we awarded $162,000 in grants. So we were able to give $100,000 to a grantee and then to our 4 other finalists, smaller mission-based grants.
And that's awesome. Even that amount is absolutely helpful to any nonprofit. And so that's really exciting that when you get enough members, past 100 is what you need to get to the $100,000, but anything past that becomes other grants that you can share in a smaller way, but still can provide smaller grants.
Which is wonderful.
Yes.
Yep. So back to the spring of 2020 when we first got started, because it really had an impact on how we shaped the organization. If you remember, that was the intersection of the beginnings of COVID, the George Floyd murder, the huge, resumed discussion of racism and inequity. And when we were developing our mission and vision, it had a huge impact on us. And so we determined that we would prioritize organizations addressing unmet needs that had roots in systemic inequity. Mm-hmm. And another sort of thing that bubbled to the surface for us was an awareness of the silos in this community of ours, the huge disparities, across areas. And so we determined to build an organization that was truly diverse in every demographic way, from geography to race to ethnicity, so that we could have the myriad of voices that would help us do a good job of evaluating grants, and so that we could build something that really crossed these big divides in our area.
Yeah. So let's talk about the grants a little bit. The impact grant, the main one, is $100,000.
Yes.
How do nonprofits how are they able to apply for these grants, and how do they even know about the funding period?
Well, first of all, we're on LinkedIn, we're on Instagram, and we have a newsletter that comes out every month, which I would encourage all nonprofits in this area to subscribe to. So our grant application this year opens in early November, and we will also have a workshop for nonprofits to acquaint them with our process and how they go about applying and all that. So we're trying to spread the word. And we accept applications from organizations, nonprofits that have budgets between $300,000 and $5 million. And we accept applications in 5 focus areas: arts and culture, education, health and wellness, family, and environment, I think I didn't mention. Right. All areas that are just critical, for healthy communities and organizations.
Yeah.
As I said, we're an all-volunteer organization, and as you know, and so members lead and participate in all aspects of the grant application and review process. So the applications come in, focus area committees in each of those areas review the proposals that have come to them. They select 3 that then go to a finance committee. There are kind of 3 stages of this review for a deeper financial dive. And those that pass muster come back to the committees for site visits, final deliberations, and then the promotion of one finalist to the full membership for a vote. And so that vote then takes place after the process is completed. And then we have an annual membership awards celebration, and the nonprofits go into that knowing, whether they have received the $100,000 grant or the mission-based grants. What's nice is that everyone receives funds from us, we love that event really in full, because we get to thank the nonprofits and to recognize their work. We get to fuel them, but they're the ones with the boots on the ground.
And that's such a fun night when everyone comes together. You don't know who's going to get that big grant, so there's a little mystery about it.
The membership doesn't know. The grantees know, but that's true. The membership learns that night.
And I think that I love that aspect of it, and everyone's all excited, and the awardees are there. You get to meet them, and for the members in the organization, we get to meet a lot of each other. There's 100 plus women in the organization, and everybody doesn't get to see everybody all the time, so I'm always meeting somebody new.
Yeah, it really is about connections. Connections at that event. It really is,
And so what was the thinking about Impact100 DC, that it would be a women's philanthropic organization? Is it that women weren't so in? I don't think that's true, that women weren't into giving, because I think women are always giving, but in this way.
Well, historically, I think women have not been, just as along with every other leadership field going back. It was men, and women were sort of ancillary donors and participated in philanthropy as a result of their husbands. Well, like every other field, that's changed dramatically. And I think that, there are a couple of reasons for that. One, you have these mega donors, like the wonderful Mackenzie Scott, who is a, fabulous, accomplished businesswoman in her own right. And then you've also got these collective giving organizations, which I think it's really a movement where women come together and they appreciate that there is more impact through, combined collective funds. And I do think women are natural collaborators. I think they are naturally drawn to a community experience. So makes sense in all sorts of ways.
I think so too, and I think I don't know if this is new, but it seems to be feeling that way to me, that women are stepping up to be not just givers and nurturers, but leaders.
Absolutely, and I really think that women are not only more involved in philanthropy than decades and decades ago, but I think they're changing the conversation in the focus and the nature of giving, all in good ways.
Yes, and coming out of the shadows and being seen. So I love that about it. Does Impact work with other partners in the work they do?
We don't have formal partners, but we are all about building partnerships. We have donors whom we consider partners who sponsor members and support us in many, many ways. And that's really fortunate because every penny of our donations, of our $1,000 donation, goes to the grant. So we rely on the extra bit of generosity from members and from outside donors to put together what is still a very small budget. We were so fortunate this year to partner with the DC Public Library Foundation. I believe you were.
Yes, I was there. That was a lovely event.
It was a wonderful event, and we hope to do more with the foundation. We are always looking for organizations with whom we really share a love of the community and similar missions and visions.
And what we get to see in this is just how much of a need in all kinds of, especially those 5 areas where we are providing grants, how much of a need there is in our communities?
You know, that's another thing, Cheryl. We have all sorts of there are all sorts of experiences in our group. Women who have never even read a grant, to women who have been immersed in the nonprofit world in the DC area for their entire lives and who are very, very experienced. Part of the magic of that is that members learn from each other, and 2-1. Anyone who participates in those focus area committees will say that they were surprised at how much they learned from each other, and also how much they learned about need and the work being done in this area about which they had no idea.
Yeah.
And some of the strongest statements are from women who know a lot.
Yeah.
So that's this, educational piece, I think, is huge.
So do you have any future plans for Impact that you can share right now?
Well, we do have, we're just putting finishing touches on our first strategic plan that'll take us through the next 3 years. And, the biggest components of that is building membership. And, the more members we have, the more wonderful our community becomes, and most importantly, the more grant dollars that we can award.
Yes.
And then every year, we have, I think, a very kind of robust and carefully crafted process for reviewing grant applications. But we look at that, what we do, very carefully every year, based on feedback from our members, based on feedback in particular from nonprofits, and based on our own research, especially into trust-based philanthropy practices. So every year we look at what we can do to make the process simpler and quicker for nonprofits, easier for our members when it comes to reviewing. We all along have emphasized our desire to develop relationships with nonprofits based on trust, based on transparency, and based on a lasting relationship. So our intention is to continue to partner with these nonprofits and help in ways that we can beyond just the dollars.
That is awesome. And thank you so much for being here on Solutions, and thank you for your leadership.
Oh, it was wonderful talking to you, Cheryl.
Yeah, I'm glad you could be here.
I am too.
All right.
I am too.
We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, I'll be joined by Jenny Backus, the membership co-chair of Impact100 DC, to talk about the impact the organization has made so far on some local nonprofits. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back. I'm Cheryl Hawkins. You're watching Solutions, the series that highlights the great work that nonprofits do in our communities. And on this episode, we are highlighting Impact100 DC, an all-volunteer women's philanthropic organization. And in this segment, I'm joined by Jenny Backus, Impact100 DC's membership co-chair. Jenny, welcome to Solutions.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here.
It's an honor to have you here. Membership, you're co-chair of membership. Let's talk about membership. Who are these women in Impact100 at DC, and how many members are there, and how impactful have they been?
Well, I have to say, I've done a lot of philanthropic giving throughout the years, mostly on the national level, and I have to say that being a member of Impact100 DC is probably one of the most spiritually and emotionally fulfilling things I've ever done in terms of philanthropy.
Why do you say that?
Because it was like a 2-for-1 for me. I mean, I got the opportunity during COVID I really felt like I was not connecting with parts of the city and the area that needed help. And I was really lucky where I was. I was able to work from home. I had a steady paycheck. I was very active in the local PTA. I was one of the presidents of Alice Deal Middle School's HSA, and I watched our principal drive to community after community trying to find computers and connectivity. And I was like, I just have to do something. And my girlfriend Stacy called me up and she said, I've just joined this incredible new group, Impact100 DC. You have to get involved. And so all of a sudden, I saw the power of my $1,000 amount that I was going to give multiplied like by 100. I mean, all of a sudden, what I could give to a local nonprofit, and I do more giving outside of it, but actually Impact is really, I'll talk about that in a minute, has really impacted my own giving. But I was able to see what happens when 100 women come together with $1,000 and what that can do for local area nonprofits. And it was always really hard to figure out where to go to find out which organizations are kind of vetted or not even just vetted, just like organizations that are already doing good work. Right. And it was always relying on like a friend sending an email saying, oh, I'm on a board or I just volunteered. And I know there are different areas that people are attracted to giving towards, education, kids, the environment, lots of different health. I did a lot of work in the healthcare space. So all of a sudden I'm in this organization and I joined one of the grant committees. You don't have to, by the way. You can just join and let your money take its work. You can volunteer as a community a communications person. You can do lots of different things to help the organization, or just write a check. It's a great organization. Like it really goes with how your life goes. But anyway, I joined and I was like, this is incredible. I'm all of a sudden reading grants from organizations that I never heard of. So I even made my own personal pledge every year when we did the finalists. And now I'm so excited that Anne has made it possible that every finalist, so if you apply in the environment group, that finalist will get a mission-based grant if they don't win. If you apply in the education group, so it's really like, it was so hard because you would read these grants and read these stories and you're like, I want to help everybody.
Exactly.
And then all of a sudden you have this group of women, this network that you've met, that all of a sudden is helping you figure out, like helping to identify organizations, and then really like you're doing it together. Anne did a really good job earlier in the show talking about that community, but that's why you join Impact. It's like you get a twofer. You get a network to sort of teach you how to be a philanthropist and make evaluations and judgments. And then you get all of a sudden like this network of friends, and you get more knowledge about what's out there.
Yes. So how many members are in the organization?
We're headed towards 200, which is great. We're about at 180. We had 164 sort of in the 2024 cycle. Right now we're in the 2025 recruitment cycle for the grant. And we are looking for more members by December 31st, 2024. So your listeners have and viewers have an opportunity to join. It's really easy. You just go to Impact100, the number, DC.org, and the information and criteria for membership is right there. And all you have to do is write a $1,000 check. And in fact, you don't even have to do that. If you find a friend and you can't afford $1,000, you can do a shared membership. You can't be on, there's a couple of restrictions, but you still are giving towards this collaborative.
Yeah.
And then we have this incredible thing that the board did. And again, you can tell that Anne Bond is a former teacher. I mean, she is already thinking about cultivating the next generation of donors.
Yeah.
We have Impact100 fellows. And so I personally give towards that as well. And that's bringing in young women interested in philanthropy, ages 21 to 40. We will underwrite them to be part of the organization. And you can also sponsor memberships for other people too. So, and you don't even have to be a woman. My husband's law firm donates space every year for us to do an event because he really believes in the power of collaborative giving too. So you can be a member, but you can be a part of the magic of Impact100 in a lot of different ways.
That's awesome. I was going to ask you what's the benefit of being a member, but you just shared it all. You've told me a little bit about yourself, but tell me, what do you feel like you bring to the organization?
I think, well, that's the other magic of the organization, and everybody brings different things. You know, I'm somebody who spent a lot of time in sort of national politics and communications and strategy. I've worked for big, huge companies, and I've worked for myself. I have my own business. And so I think what I bring is a little bit of understanding about how bigger groups do some things, and that we should consider ourselves a big deal in a bigger group. I think that this is probably, like I said, it's one of the most impactful things I've done. But if you're looking for a way to sort of get involved and learn more about local philanthropy, and I think that's always been a challenge. People write a check to their college or to their sorority or to their, or to like an organization. You know, I remember watching the Jerry Lewis Telethon as a kid, you know, or collecting for UNICEF on Halloween. But this is a way to help organizations that are run by like these heroes all over the city. I mean, doing really different things. And so I think what I bring that, I also bring a Rolodex. I've been around in DC for a while, so I'm a connector, and it's a good opportunity. But you don't have to have any specific skill to do this. The beauty of us is our diversity, I think. Ann did a great job of talking about, I mean, geographically diverse, economically diverse, age-wise, we have a good diversity. And, you know, and there's as much fellowship as you want. I mean, some people are just sort of shyer and they'd rather read grants and sort of impact. Other people love to get together in social settings. So you don't have to be one kind of person to join this. There's room. We celebrate like everybody's differences.
I think that's one thing I really like about it. There are young people who are just learning about philanthropy and getting involved. There are women who are retired. And still want to do something.
Right. And every investment is an impact. You were talking, I mean, we have the sort of impact grantee that gets the $100,000 each year. And it was funny, Ann mentioned our event at the DC Public Library Foundation. We had two really incredible women, Dr. Tamara Wilds-Lawson, who runs the Washington Area Women's Foundation, and then Kathy Merrill, who's the publisher of the Washington County and a big philanthropist in her own right. And they both were so impressed and highlighted so many times. There are not that many organizations that give a $100,000 grant. That's a big grant for that sort of small to mid-sized nonprofit, and it gives nonprofits freedom. I mean, freedom is a big word right now, but it is really important. It gives them freedom to do projects or try things that they've just been poised on the edge but haven't had the resources to do it.
Yeah, so let's talk about a few of those nonprofits who have received those impact grants. In 2021, it was Access Youth. Tell me a little bit about them. What do they do?
They're a wonderful organization. I mean, it is funny. You can tell that we started as an organization of teachers because there's lots of education and kids group. But having worked in the healthcare space, I mean, you really understand how dependent in all of the groups that we've given, how we have to have a strong system to prevent truancy. We have to be involved in communities with kids at risk. We have to teach, I'm talking about each one of those things, but they all tie together. We need to be involved in the juvenile justice organization. So starting off with Access Youth, they're an organization, they're so incredible. They're very hard at work in some of the communities in DC that are most at need. They're going, looking at truancy rates. They're also looking at risk kids. Really, really impressive organization. The next year was Citygate.
Yes.
I have worked in, I worked for a technology company, big technology company, and was very involved in a lot of their community relations. And Citygate's the kind of program that I wish every big technology company in the city takes a look at them. They are working inside the communities, again, sort of in the greater DC area, really instituting teaching in science and tech and making it interesting and engaging for at-risk kids so you can keep middle school kids in school and keep them involved. And then we get to Open City. I have to say all of these groups are incredible, but I just was so blown away by what they do at Open City, which is working on the reform of the juvenile justice system.
Yeah, I thought that was very unique what they did.
Yeah, and we allowed the woman to the leadership of that organization to actually take a deep breath and like do some planning, and build their grant to build more programs, because it can be overwhelming for the people that are providing these services. Ann talked about the need. If we can give people some hope and some excitement and some space to sort of do the project that they always want to do, it's incredible. And then we have Best Kids this year. Oh my gosh. The energy in that room, were you there?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, that was just so incredible about what they're doing with mentoring and with foster kids. I mean, there again, so much need every single place that you go. But the other thing that's great is to dive deep, and we won't go into, but take a look if you get a chance to your viewers of, we've got people in the DMV, we've got people in Maryland, we've got people in Virginia, theater groups, workers organizing organizations, a place that's doing urban design and green space. I mean, we're touching people all over, and it's not just kids, we're looking at adults and families facing challenges. So that's another great thing that you can do, even if you can't join Impact right now. Send your favorite nonprofit to apply. I think the most incredible thing I do a lot of giving, and I never have taken the time until I came to Impact to take a deep breath and think about, when you're giving out a grant, how much work are you putting that organization through? And the sensitivity from the very beginning of when we started to give grants about not asking people to do too much in case they don't win, and not try. It was during COVID. We were thinking, oh, we should go do site visits, and then we're like, oh my goodness, it's during COVID. Should we go do? Thinking about the impact that we, the donors, have on the organizations. We don't want to be a hindrance. We want to be a help. And I think you'd be very impressed with the professionalism that you see.
Yeah, and so once they get a grant, it's not like, here's the money, bye. You stay in touch.
We're there. I mean, I personally, and you don't have to do this, so I don't want to make people worried, but every year when we get a finalist, I try to save a little bit of money to write a check to each one of them. We've been trying to highlight volunteer opportunities that you can do. Ann talked about our amazing breakfast, our Impact Maker breakfast that we'll do each September. At that breakfast, we were so touched about how many of our grantees came back. We had them host a table, so we had our donors with our organizations. It's a family, and we're creating a family. And they were also happy for each other.
Yes,
when someone wins, it's not fake. They're all in it together, and so are we. And that's all making an impact.
Yes. So before we run out of time, I know every organization that gets that Impact grant is a success story. But for you, what kind of success story comes to your mind when you think about the work of Impact?
I think, to me, the success story is the fact that we are going so aggressively and making a plan for the future about having even more impact. The success is that we've gone from 100 members to 164, and we're on our way to 200. I really want to urge every person listening to think that you can make an impact right now by coming together in collaborative giving and by supporting Impact 100 DC, because we're leaving a legacy. And that's a success story to me, is the membership numbers. And not just because that's my title. I just think the more people that are joining us, the more of an impact we can have.
You're the perfect person to get members in.
Jenny,
thank you so much for being here on Solutions and the work you're doing. You are making an impact.
You too. You too. And thank you to anybody who's watching a show called Solutions is definitely a high recruit for us for Impact 100.
Thank you. Again, I'd like to thank Ann Vaughn, founding president, and Jenny Backus, membership co-chair of Impact 100 DC, for being my guests on this edition of Solutions and for sharing with us the impactful work they do to help other nonprofits succeed. If you'd like more information about Impact 100 DC, or if you'd like to become a member, you can visit their website at impact100dc.org, or you can give them a call at 202-379-4773. I'm Cheryl Hawkins. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time for more Solutions.